What's going on?
So once again, if you've just joined, if you could
What's
in the
that?
chat put your swimmer's name so that I can give you attendance or take attendance for this. Um, so anyway, a little bit about the coaching staff. All of our coaches are USA Swimming certified coaches. That means they have lifeguarding and CPR. They take a coach's safety course. They're background checked. There's some athlete protection training and a lot of just general education. There's a fair number of classes that everyone has to take to be a certified USA Swimming certified coach. That's renewed every year, and we take some of these tests year after year after year. So I guess you can feel like your kids are in the hands of coaches that consider themselves professionals, and they're safe people for your kids to be around, and they'll provide, in addition to being good coaches, they'll be good role models for your kids as well. I'm going to share the screen with you right now, and first thing you'll see will be our website, which hopefully you've been into it at least a little bit since you've registered. Um, I'm going to go to a section here under Parents Info, and I sent you out some links to some parent meeting documents. They're also linked here on this page on the website. And I'm just going to open the first one, which is LCST, Lake Country Swim Team Basics. Um, this document, let's make it a little bit bigger. This document is a little bit about the structure of the team. Your kids likely came to the program, might have come through the team through the novice program, which we have 6 levels, and you kind of know how that goes if you've been a part of that. If you came from another place, that's fine, but that's our novice, our developmental section of the team. Then we have a section, and I think most of the people I'm speaking to now are part of our age group program. And as you can see, there's several different groups in that program: Super 8, Age Group Bronze, Age Group Silver, Age Group Gold, and Juniors. Um, Super 8 and Age Group Bronze are kind of the entry level groups. If your swimmer's 8 and under, they're in the Super 8 group. If they're 9 and over, they're in the Age Group Bronze group. And then both those groups funnel into the Age Group Silver, Gold, and Juniors. And the kids in that group are generally 9 to about 13 years old. Um, Once you turn 13, if you are far enough along in your development, then you'll join one of our senior groups, and those are the ones on the left side of the page there. And again, there's a progression. In Hartford, there's 3 different senior levels: a middle school, a JV senior, and then a high school senior. And at the Arrowhead program, there's a senior bronze, a senior silver, a sterling silver, and gold. The silver and bronze are generally middle school swimmers, and the senior sterling and gold are you have to be in high school to be in one of those 2 programs. So that's kind of the progression that your child may go through if they continue with the program long term. We have 2 seasons each year. One is called the short course season that starts in September and then runs through February and March. And that ending date depends on how far your kids go into the championship season. And that's called short course because it's most of the championship meets and the other meets are done in the 25-yard pool, which is like the Hartford and Arrowhead High School pool. And what we're in right now is called the long course season. That runs from April to sometime in July and August. Same thing. It depends on how far your kids move along into the championship part of the season. And in that, during that season, a good number of the meets and the championship meets are done in a 50-meter pool. If you've seen the Hartford outdoor pool, that's a 50-meter pool. If you've watched the swimming on the Olympics, that's also a 50-meter pool. Most international swimming is done in the 50-meter pool. So that's a little bit different, but that's why they're called those seasons. Um, and when you register for the team, you're registering for that full season. Even though the schedule might only go through, for example, now early June, once we hit the second week of May I'll be posting a schedule that'll go through the end of the summer, a practice schedule that goes through the end of the summer. Um, I'm going to give you a real quick overview of some family service requirements. This seems to be pretty confusing for some people. So I want to spend a minute. And it's really important that you know there are 2 service programs, and you need to meet the requirements for both of those service programs. One of them is called the seasonal service program, and that's you paid a $50 or $100 fee or deposit at the beginning of the season, and we're asking you to perform some level of service to the team, or make some donations is sometimes another option to earn points, and to earn points for that seasonal service program. You will earn 15 seasonal service points for attending this meeting, as long as you've got your child's name in the chat. For some of you that are in the age group bronze, silver, or super 8, that will fulfill your seasonal service for this season. If you're in the juniors or age group gold or any of the other groups, you'll still need to earn another 30 points. Later on in the meeting, I'll go over a little more detail what that seasonal service program is. But it's important to know that that is completely separate from the meat service program. The meat service program, that requires our member families to help the team by working at some of the meets that we host. Meat hosting is a really important part of our revenue. This year, probably, I think it's maybe about 40%, 35 to 40% of our overall revenue will come from hosting meets. So it's really important that we have the help of our families to host those meets. They require a lot of volunteers, and I'll go into more detail on that program as well later on. But the important thing to remember is these are 2 programs that you'll want to make sure that you're kind of tracking your progress in and making sure that you're meeting those requirements. If you want your deposit back in the case of the seasonal service program, and in the case of the meat service program, there are some buyouts and penalties if you don't fulfill those. And like I said, I'll go into a little more detail on that a little bit later. So that's some important general information about the team. Get out of that and go back to the home page here. So as far as the family goes, the family requirements, some important things to remember is in regards to communication. First of all, visit the website often, look around. We post a lot of information there. If you haven't poked around in it yet, I recommend that you spend some time looking around the pages, and you'll see some information that's important there. As I go through this meeting, I'll be showing you some of the essential parts, but there's a lot of other information out there that's really valuable. I'm going to go to the new parent page right now. Under parents info, there's a new parent page. And you'll see here, and this is maybe one of your first resources if you have questions or about the program, or basically questions or concerns or anything else. Listed here are some contact people for each one of the groups. You will also probably be receiving a phone call or an email message from one of these people over the next 3 to 4 or 5 days. They'll ask you if you have any questions after the meeting and introduce themselves to you. I don't know that any of them are on the meeting today to introduce them to you. I don't see them here, but they'll reach out to you. And if you have any questions, they are people that are happy to answer your questions. Or if they can't answer the question, they'll direct you to someone who can. Then you'll also see my contact information down on the bottom. Again, I'm Mark Cohnhorst. That's my email address, Coach Cohn, and that's the phone number of the office. I try to answer emails as quickly as possible and phone messages within 24 to 36 hours. It depends on exactly when you leave that message. So if you've got any questions about, say, volunteers or billing or policies of the team, that would be your resource. And further down on this page, there's a bunch of frequently asked questions. I'm not going to go through these, but I recommend that you spend a few minutes going through them. You'll learn a lot about the program. Some of the stuff some of it is what I'll cover in this meeting, but some of it is stuff that I won't, and you'll want to take a look at that. So I recommend you visit that page. Other resources for you, call the office anytime. If you feel like you need to speak to someone directly, first of all, any questions regarding the practice that your child is attending, you should or anything to do with your child directly, you should start with talking to or reaching out to their group coach. And that's for age group bronze at Arrowhead. It's Coach Allen. Coach Aiden runs the silver, Super 8, and age group gold group. And then I'm the junior and senior silver and senior bronze coach. And then up in Hartford, the age group, the younger age groups are all handled by MacGyver. So if you have any questions, that's who you should start with. If you don't feel like you get an answer that satisfies you there, certainly happy to listen to you or answer any questions that you have. So please don't hesitate to ask questions. Unanswered questions usually lead to problems or confusion. So there's no question that's too dumb to ask. We've heard them all, and we're happy to answer them all. Next, I guess I'm going to go back to those parent meeting documents. And the next one was about Ellis Lake Country Swim Team equipment. This is the group equipment that we'd like you to have. Some of this equipment is available at pools, but some of it's not. And later on, if you're at, say, another pool, you may not have it. So it's best to get yourself a mesh bag and then get this equipment, whichever group your child's in. And how do you get that equipment? I will show you that in a second. Our team equipment provider is A3. Get back to the home page. Is A3 Performance. They're located in Oconomowoc. They do have a store there, but they also do a lot of things via online, and they'll ship things to you or to me. And to access that via the online, if you go all the way down to the bottom of the first page, you'll see an A3 Performance link here. They're also one of our sponsors. If you click on that link, it's going to take you to a place where you can order. The first thing you want to make sure that you order is your team suit. You all were charged a club membership fee of $50, and that basically covers a team suit and a team cap. If you have a question about what size your suit should, or what size suit is appropriate for your swimmer, we do have suits in the office here that you can have them try on. Just call in advance so that we're prepared to spend that time with you in the office. Or again, you can go to A3. Most of the beginning swimmers, the boys will usually wear the jammer suit. Some of the older high school boys you'll see wearing the brief. And then the girls, it just kind of depends. Most of them probably start with what's called the sprint back. It's just got a little bit more material and then less and less material as you go through the X back and the flashback. But order that suit. You've already paid for it. And then as far as, and then if you want to pay extra, you can get a performance level suit. I don't recommend that for the first season. You'll pay a little extra money. They don't last necessarily quite as long as these suits, but they do help swimmers swim a little bit faster when they're swimming at a higher level. But most of your kids will do just fine in these other team suits. And then the cap is something that they can pick up at the pool at practice. We have some on order. I think we are out of them right now. We'll have some ready for you very, very soon. The rest of the equipment is for sale down here. One thing we do at the beginning of every season is we offer personalized caps. Here you can buy a pack of 2 caps for $30. There's 2 types of caps. There's a silicone cap, which is kind of a thicker material. It lasts longer, and most of the younger kids like it. And then there's a latex cap that's a lot thinner and a little less expensive. For the personalized suit, we're only offering the silicone caps. Really, we don't have enough. We usually can never get enough numbers to get a personalized cap. But if you want your swimmer to have a cap with their name on it, place your order by clicking on that, and you'll be able to, it'll give you you'll go through the normal, put it in a cart and give the name that you want on it. Those orders are due by April 30th. See, that says right up here, cap deadline is Sunday, April 30th. So if you want one of those, you'll have to take care of that order by that. That list I showed you of group equipment requirements. It's also on the A3
Trying
page.
to do that.
And then all of that stuff is available down here. And there's a couple pages worth. And if you order through there, like I said, they'll either ship it to you, or sometimes they'll give me a box of those as well. And then I guess if you're going to buy an additional suit, those are available as well here. So at any rate, that's where you get your equipment for the team, and that you pay directly, and you work directly with A3. If you have any problems with your order, then you would contact A3 for help with that. Let's see, we do spirit orders with t-shirts and warm-ups and shorts and other items with our team logo, usually a couple times a season. There'll be one coming out pretty soon. Also this season, we're having our team picture taken, and whenever we do our team picture, every swimmer on the team gets a team t-shirt. Um, everybody, it'll be the same team t-shirt, and that'll be free, no charge, and they'll pick that up the day of the team picture. But otherwise, the other spirit wear that you might want to get will become available, and you'll get an email, and you'll get linked to a store where you can make those purchases for other team equipment, or for at least that spirit wear. Um, you'll see some kids with parkas and towels. We usually only order those in the fall, leading up to Christmas. So I would say it's quite possible. Well, actually, I think they are going to do a towel order this spring, but it's quite possible they might have to wait until then to get that. So that's your A3 performance. Whoops, they're giving us an ad or something here. We can get out of that and go back to our home page. Then the final thing before I get into some stuff regarding the racing and what the kids need to know is your account and paying your bill and etc. So at the first of every month, we will invoice you for anything that has been charged to your account. If you're on a payment plan, you saw the months in which those fees will be added. You can always go to your account by clicking on your name, and then you go to my account. You can make changes in here, and the members information is here, and you can look at that information there. Account information, and then payment setup. You can put a credit card on file with us. If you do that, then on the first of the month when we invoice you, we will automatically charge you. We also added an ACH service where we'll pull directly from your bank account if you'd prefer that. Either one is fine with us. And if you prefer to pay by check, that's all right as well. Just please try to make those payments. We invoice on the first of the month. If you have an account balance, sometime in the next 4 or 5 days after the first of the month, we'll send that invoice out to you via email. And then any late charges, if you're late on your payment, would be assessed after the 16th of this month. So as far as the types of things that you will be paying for throughout the season, I'll get back to that home page, I think. Here we go. The things that you'll be paying for throughout the season, of course, you pay for the club membership already, the training fees for the group fees, the seasonal service deposit. Whenever your child enters a meet, there are entry fees associated with that meet, and I'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to the meet entry. If you are buying out of the meet service, choosing not to work and going to pay a buyout fee instead, that'll be on your charge. If, for example, sometimes we do some social events. One that comes up this summer is a trip to Noah's Ark. Those will be billed to your account as well. And again, all those will be invoiced at the first of every month for you to pay. And then anything else that you can purchase. So then I'm going to talk a little bit now about those two service programs. My goal is to get this portion of the meeting done by 7:30. Hopefully we can do that, and then we can talk about your kids a little bit more. So I said there were two areas of seasonal service, or two areas of service, and one is the seasonal service. Um, Although many of you will already have fulfilled that, I'm going to show you how that program works. First of all, in the parent meeting documents, there is a seasonal service info document. Read through that. It gives you the details on the program and exactly how it works. And then what you will do is you will sign up for seasonal service jobs or donations, and I will show you where you do that. Let me get to the home page again. This section here, current events and meet sign up. That's an area you'll access fairly often to sign up for meets and to sign up for other things. So I'm going to click on that right now, and it takes you to this page. The first thing on this page is the seasonal service opportunities, and we still have last season's up there because there are still people fulfilling that. Most of them are fulfilling it by working at the team banquet in a couple of weeks. But I can show you how that works a little bit here. What you'll do is if you go to that page, it's a short description. You can also, that document that I showed you just a moment ago is linked here. And then throughout the season, I will post a spreadsheet with the current service status, and I'll click on that so you can see what that looks like. So it'll have your name and your requirement, and then what you did to earn points. And then if you've earned those points, the credit you're going to get, and then the date that you receive the credit. So you can track yourself throughout the season and make sure you're meeting that requirement. And once it's met and the deposit is back, then you don't have to worry about it again. To choose a service, to one of those opportunities, and this is a button you'll use for a few other things, you would go to job sign up. And you see when you get to that page, there are a whole bunch of things that we need help on. And you can see, for example, we've got the banquet, and we've got some parents that are doing the organization for the group baskets, and they're signing up, and you can see how many points everything is worth. And then there's other things that you'll have opportunities. The other things occasionally, if we aren't able to meet or get the number of volunteers we need for a meet, we will occasionally offer seasonal service points if you work an additional more than the required amount at a meet. And then we also occasionally will have donations available. When we host meets, we have both a concessions and a hospitality area. Hospitality for the coaches and officials, concessions for the people that come. And you can choose something to donate there. And again, you'll earn points. These are all 15-point donation or 15-point donations. So those will be other ways for you to meet those seasonal service points. Again, then there's some people who don't bother with any of it. We'd love their help, but they just don't get their deposit back. So that's the seasonal service program. Again, completely separate from the meat service program. I'm going to go back to the home page and parent meeting documents. There are two documents here on here that talk about the working at meets, and those both have to do with the meat service requirements. I'm going to go to this one. So this is the policy and the agreement. Now you signed this by clicking one of the boxes when you registered. Here we always, at the beginning of the season, we post the meets that have certain levels of requirement. Actually, I'm going to go to the other one. Yeah, this is better. Here you can see we've got 3 different levels of meet service. We have mandatory full team service meets. We have mandatory participant service meets. And then we've got optional volunteer meets. each season will have at least one mandatory full team service meet. That is a meet where every single family on the team, from age group bronze and super eights all the way up to senior gold, will be required to provide some workers. It's usually 2 or 3 sessions worth of work. Sessions are about 4 hours generally. They can be shorter, they can be longer, but not much longer than 4. In the case of this summer, our mandatory full service team or full team service meet is the Western Great Lakes Open. It's on June 23rd through 25th. Hopefully you saw that when you registered, and I'm hoping you can all set aside a couple of sessions for that weekend to work. Those meets are generally at Walter Schrader Aquatic Center. They're very large meets. Your swimmer may or may not qualify for the meet. In the case of the Western Great Lakes Open, we allow all our swimmers to compete. But even if they're not competing in the meet, we still have the requirement that you work at that meet. All right. You can always buy out of the meet. And in this case, the buyout fees are $100 for each session. There are often if you can't be there the weekend of June 23rd through 25th, there are usually some limited number of pre-meet work that can be done. And that usually is maybe the couple of days or the week before the meet. There are some things that we need to have done. And if you contact the volunteer coordinator in advance, then they'll be able to help you sign up for one of those pre-meet things. If that's an issue for you and you know it already, being available for that weekend, I suggest you send me an email after this meeting, and I will hook you up with the volunteer coordinator and start you on the right path. Again, we need that from every single family that's a part of the team. For example, this meet here will be $40,000 worth of revenue for the team, and that revenue benefits every single member of the team, keeping fees down and paying insurance and facility rentals and coaches pay and all that. Then we have another type of meet. It's called a mandatory participant service meet. This meet you only have to work in if your child is competing. We have one of those meets this summer. It's at the Hartford Outdoor Pool. It's on June 10th. It's actually only in the morning. And if you enter your swimmer into that meet, we'll need you to work that meet. And again, I'll show you how to sign up and explain all that stuff in a couple of minutes. The buyouts are a little bit less for those, $35 to $70. Kind of depends on the level of the meet. So that is another, like, if you don't sign your swimmer up for the meet, you don't have to worry about it. If you want your swimmer to swim in the meet, but you're not available, then you can make that buyout option, and that's fine. Then we have optional volunteer meets. And if you've been on our novice program, the ones that are the Phoenix Conference meets. You get no credit for those, and you get no penalty for not working those. But we won't start them until we have enough people to work all of those sessions. So it's a good place for you to get experience and learn some of the jobs that are required for the meet. And obviously, it's short little hour meet, hour and 15 minutes or so. So it's not a large commitment, and in most cases, you're there. Now, one thing to remember about all of these meets, you always are able to watch your swimmers swim if they are competing. If the job you're doing happens not to be in the pool area, you're able to leave your job for a few minutes and go and watch your swimmer compete without any problem at all. A lot of the work, however, is done in the pool area, and during that time you are able to watch your child compete. So you'll never have to miss your swimmer while you're doing one of our jobs. Just some other information on this. I recommend that you read this. Buyout and late fees. Explain the buyout a little bit. So if you've got other things going on, you can do a buyout. Or again, you might be able to do some pre-meet work. Again, that's usually some shopping, some baking. There's a few other things also. And those are very limited, so it's kind of a first come, first serve. So the sooner you get in line for those. And we ask that you only do it if it's completely impossible for you to work the meet that weekend. If you can work the meet, we'd like you to please help out by doing that. Here's a little checklist on how to sign up and volunteer for a meet. And I'm going to show you that um, in just a moment. All right. Um, let's see. I will go out of this. I'm going to go all the way back to the home page. Let's see. That'll get me there. Um, the required meet this season, again, is the Western Great Lakes Open. Now, I opened it up for this meeting so that I could show you what it looks like to sign up for the job. Here's the Western Great Lakes Open. I'm going to close it as soon as I'm done talking to you because we haven't opened it up yet. And we open this up at a given time and date. And it's because sometimes it's fairly competitive among the members to get the session or the job that they prefer. So a lot of people will wait. Like if we say it's opening up on June 1st at 9 p.m., there'll be a lot of people on their computer ready to click in at 9 p.m. so that they can get their preferred session or their preferred job. The way you will do that is you'll go to the job sign up, very similar to the seasonal service, and then you'll see a list of all of the jobs that we need for every session of the meet. And you can see this meet has got on Friday, it's got a morning session, an afternoon session, and an evening session, the finals. And then on Saturday, another morning, an afternoon, and an evening. And each one of those, and then there's another Sunday session as well. And each one of those sessions requires a fair number of workers. Very popular job is a timer. Most of these jobs, if they don't say that they require training, they're the type of job that you can show up, we'll tell you what you need to do, and you won't have any problem doing it. But there are some jobs that require training. That, for example, operating the SST timing system. And in those cases, we'll also usually offer a trainee position as well for people that want to learn how to do it. It's good to get yourself trained in some of these positions. We give priority sign up to trained workers first. So before that 9 p.m. on June 1st opening time, we're contacting the trained workers and slotting them into the positions where we need trained workers. So there is a good advantage as your child progresses in the sport, and it's a good way for you to make sure you get a position that you like and maybe a session that you like as well. Again, there's a lot of jobs here and you can see them. And then all you'll do to do that is simply click, I want to be the office worker at Friday Finals. You'll click the box and you go all the way up to the top and you'll see a sign up. And then you can just hit sign up. And then if you look down here, you'll see that position. Where is it? There it is. Has my name in it. I'm the office worker for that meet. I'm going to remove myself right now since I'll have other things to do that day. But that's how you actually physically do the sign up. And again, I recommend you get on that right away when those positions are open. That's really it then for the seasonal service and the meet service. I guess I'm going to unshare for a moment. How do I do that? Here we go. I think I did it. Thought I did. Oh, here we go. Stop share. Sorry. And if anyone has any questions on any of that, I would answer any of those very quickly now. If it's specific to your own situation, let's save those for an email or a phone call. But if it's a general one, feel free to just shout it out here to me if you're not muted. Oh, excellent. None yet. All right. All right. Well, then let's talk about your kids a little bit and meets and signing them up for meets and everything like that. Again, I'm going to go back to the share then and share our website. And I'm going to go back to the home page here. Let's see, what was the team website? That's the quickest. All right. So like I said, this area will become really important. So about 3 or 4 weeks before a meet, we'll send an email around offering it for you to sign up for. When you get that email, you'll have two options. One will be just sign up for the meet, and the other one will be for more information. I really recommend you click on the for more information before you just sign up for a meet, so you know a little bit about the meet. So that all those meets are always listed in this current events and meet sign up area. And there's a meet coming up soon that is very appropriate for the swimmers that are just new to our team. And it's this NBSC Amazing May meet. Entries for that are due on the 27th of April. If you click on the actual event, it'll bring you to a page that has most of the important information: the date, the location, the meet timeline. Although these times I probably shouldn't have up there because that looks like they're from last year. I'm going to remove those after it. And I'll explain the time thing a little bit. But there'll always be a meet info link here. And what that is that's the announcement that comes from the meet host. And I recommend you take a look at that before you make any decisions. They'll all look something like this. And again, they'll show you the location, if there's any eligibility requirements, a little bit about the facility, um, and then just a lot of other stuff, including entry fees. And that's something you're going to always want to know. You can see for this meet, the entry fees is well, there'll be a spectator. It looks like they're going to charge that $7. That'll probably be charged to your account, and then the entire family will be able to go to the meet without paying. Every event that your child swims will be $5. That's a fairly typical amount. Higher level meets may have a $7, $8, or $9 or $10 per swim fee. There's a lot of facility fees out there that just goes directly to the facility. And then this splash fee here is for Wisconsin swimming. That goes for that's kind of like I'd say call it a little bit tax, and that's per swimmer. And then if we enter relays, there's a fee for that, and that's divided by the members of the relay when we bill. But that will give you an idea of how much you're in for when you enter a meet. Then you'll also go through, there'll be information like awards, just other random information. And then always at the end, there'll be the order of events. And that's a listing of all the events that are offered at the meet. Typically, odd number events are the girls, even number events are the boys. So, for example, event number 1 is the 8 and under 25 girls 25 breast, and event number 2 is the 8 and under 25 yard breast for the boys. And you can see that all of this, the don't know why. I think I have a mistake in this. Not made by me, but at any rate, all of these morning session events, oh, are either 13, are either open. No, it's correct. Are either open or 13 and over or 8 and under events. So if your child is 9, 10, or 11 and then 12 for this meet, then they'd be swimming in the afternoon session. If they're 6, 7, or 8, or 13, 14, 15 or over, they'll be swimming in this event. Open always allows everyone in, but typically it should be the oldest swimmers entered in the meet. All right. So the 13, 14, or 15, 16-year-olds would be in that area. So that's the order of events that are offered at this meet. This final page, this waiver entry recap, ignore it. That's something that we fill out when we send in our order. It's not for you to deal with at all. So just ignore that final page. So look through that information. Let's say you've looked at it and you say, you know what, I think we can make this meet. Sounds fun. Let's sign up. So click back to the event page. All right, what's going on there? Don't like that. Here we go. Click back to the event page and you'll see an attend decline button up at the top here. So we actually would like you to answer that one way or the other. If your swimmer is going to attend, we'd like you to enter them in the meet. And if they're going to decline, we'd like you to have to do that as well. Um, I have a sample swimmer Cohnhorst here, and he's gonna, I think it's a he, I'm not sure. He's gonna swim in the meet. So I'm gonna click on that name, and then I'll go here and you can say no, and that's fine, or you can say yes. Now, as soon as I say yes, a bunch of other information opens up. A few details about how many events you can swim, and then also all of the events that my swimmer is eligible for. Looks like I've got odd numbers, so it must be a girl on my sample swimmer. Um, and so I say, okay, well, we're going to, oh no, I take that back. My swimmer is an 11 and 12-year-old. This is something to be careful of. You can see there's these open events, and because they're open to every age, I could swim those, but I want them to swim against other 11 or 12-year-old swimmers, or I want her to swim against that. And this is the afternoon session. Now I can select the events that I want them to swim in, and they'll click them. These will all be no time at the start of your swimming career, but eventually, once the swimmers will have some achieved times, those times will show up in here, and swimmers are always entered at their best time, and that's so they're racing against kids of a fairly similar speed. Now, you may not have any idea what event, what distance, what stroke is appropriate for your swimmer, and that's just fine. Then you don't have to click anything down here. You go up to this notes box. You've said yes already, and you can type in, whoops, yeah, I'm sorry, CC for coach's choice. So when the coach sees your child's entry, they'll see the CC and they'll choose the events that they think are appropriate. You can also put other notes in there. For example, well, we want to swim in the meet, but we have to leave at 4 o'clock no matter what. We've got an event we're going to that night. So you can put CC, no late events must, leave by 4 p.m. And then the coach will take that into consideration, or any other note that you want to put in there. Sometimes parents will put in coach's choice plus the 50 free, because I know they want us from that event, but I don't know other than that what they want. Any communication you want to give to the coach, put it in there, and then they'll respond to that, or they'll take that into consideration, and then they'll go here and click the events that are appropriate. So whether you do a coach's choice or you select events, when you're all done, you'll hit save changes on the lower pod here. Now that takes you back to this screen, and you can see sample swimmer Cohnhorst is now committed to the meet. After the coach looks at their events and approves them, it'll say approved there instead of committed. And that means that they've been approved for the meet. I mean, basically, if you're entered in the meet, the only time you wouldn't be approved is if that meet had some sort of qualifying standard, time standard that your child would have to achieve before they could enter it. All right, so now I've taken care of that, and I'm done with the entry. The entry is made. Let me get back to our home page again. Another View Team website. Now, as far as that handles your entry, then when we get closer to the meet, you're going to need some other information. A lot of the meet informations, as far as like the starting time, they'll give a fixed firm time for the morning start. They'll say the AM session has a 7:30 warm up and an 8:30 start, and that'll be fixed and firm. But the afternoon session will say something vague like it'll start immediately after the AM session with 1 hour of warm-ups. All right. Well, the reason they do that is because they don't know how long that morning session is going to run. After all the entries are submitted by all of the teams, and that's usually due about a week before the meet, they will, enter all the data into their meet management program. and they'll be able to develop a timeline. And then once they have that timeline developed, they will publish that and distribute it to the teams. And then that'll tell you what time that afternoon session is going to be. General rule of thumb is that sessions, well, there is an actual rule that the actual competition part of a meet session can only be 4 hours long. So you can do a little math there. If that session started at 8:30 in the morning, and then the afternoon might start sometime around 12:30 and be done sometime around 4:30. But you'll get some very specific information later on. One of the communications that you'll receive weekly from our team is called the E-Splash. It usually comes out on Thursday. I recommend you read it from top to bottom. Some of the information might not relate to you, but at least get a good look at it. Some of it will. That E-Splash is where we will send details about the meet out. Now, the other place that those details will show up is on the host team's meet site. Now, what is that? We happen to have a meet coming up this weekend. And that meet is at Waukesha Express, and it's hosted by Waukesha Express Swim Team. Before the week of the meet, they'll post information. I'm going to show you what their page looks like. We often will post this information on our website as well. So you can go to the West hosted meet page. Now we're leaving our Lake Country Swim Team website, and we're going to the Waukesha Express Swim Team website. We all use the same team Unify, so and here they've posted a bunch of information, warm-up assignments. Well, here you can see that the PM session warm-up for that is going to start at 12:50 p.m. And in fact, Lake Country is going to warm up in lane 5. And then it'll go from 12:50 to 1:35, and the meet will start at 1:35. And that's for Saturday. Now, we will also, in the E-Splash, we'll send that information out as well, just in text saying all swimmers should be there for all the afternoon swimmers should be there for the 12:50 warm-up. Sometimes they change from day to day. You can see on the Sunday, it's a 1:10 warm-up for the meet this weekend. All right. And like I say, we will send that information out. The other information, and again, this is information we'll distribute, but it's usually available before we distribute it on the host team's website. They'll post a pretty specific timeline. So for example, here they know the meet's going to start at 8:05. Event 1 is going to take till 8:30, and then at 8:31, they're going to start event 2. We're going to run everything through, and you can see they have this 12:47 finish time, which is why they have a 12:50 warm-up time. So it gives you an idea when your swimmer is going to swim throughout that session, and they'll do that for all 4 of the sessions of a meet. And again, we will send that link out and that information out to you as well. The other thing that'll be posted here very often, there are some teams that don't post them. There are some teams that will have them printed for sale at the meet. We are one of those teams that does that occasionally. But they'll have the heat sheet. And this is what a heat sheet looks like. If you were in our Phoenix program, you saw these before. If you've been on a high school team and gone to an invitational, you may have seen something like this before. And this is just every heat of the meet, who's in it and what lane they're in. So you can see that event number 1 that we looked at just a minute ago, that's the first one in the event at 8:05. These are the 10 swimmers that'll be in that first heat. They're all have no time, so they're grouped together and they'll swim together. All 8 of these heats are a part of that event. And then you can see that they are grouped by time. So for example, heat 3, the swimmers are in there are somewhere between 2 minutes and 2 minutes and 49 seconds and 3 minutes and 4 seconds. And you get to the fastest heat, which is usually at the end. And there you see the fastest times in the meet are. So your swimmer will always be competing against somebody that's relatively close in speed and ability to where your swimmer is. And that's a heat sheet. And I recommend that you print that off possibly, or at least you're going to want to look for your swimmers' information there. They usually, if they post them on the website, they will not have copies of them at the meet. You'll either need to print one off, or I'll show you another place where you can get to them. All right. So that gives you some information about the meet. Now you know what time you need to be there. Couple other things about going to a meet. Let's see. We posted those details. I'm going to go back to our site again. That's the end of that one. Close that off. Let's see. When they come to the meet, they need to be there in time for the kids to be able to get dressed, go to the locker room, get dressed, be in their suit and caps by the start of warm up. Early is better than late on these, so I recommend you plan for a train delaying you or whatever else, or weather or anything else that might prevent you from or traffic. Plan for that. Get there a little bit early. You just have to run a little Google map to see what what the route is and how long it takes. Most of these meets are held at high schools or a few other aquatic centers that you'll see. The address is always given in that meet information. The day of the meet, again, arrive early. We'll do the warm up. We'll warm the kids up together as a group. We'll have a team meeting with the kids, and we'll give them specific information about the meet. If there's any relays, we will announce them during that part of the meet. Relays are fun. We love that they're usually groups of 4 kids together. So they'll need to know that information. Let me go to one of our other parent documents. Look, I'm signed out. Let me sign back in first. All right. I'm going to go back to these parent meeting documents. Meet entry and tips. This pretty much what I told you about entering is listed in here. Stuff about how you get the details. A little bit about how the heat sheet looks. And then if you've had your kids in the conference season, you're probably familiar with writing events on them. You want to put a little grid on your child. Even older swimmers do this with the event number, the heat number, and the lane number, and what that event is. So you see, for example, this swimmer here, the parents have looked at the heat sheet, and it looks like we're talking about Hannah Kabush here. She's in event number 37. She's in heat 1. She's in lane 6, and it's a 50-yard backstroke. All right. And if the kids have that written on their hand, almost any adult at the meet can help them get where they need to get. So how does it work at the meet? They'll do the warm up with the team. Hopefully they'll already have their event and heat and lane written on their hand. If they don't, sometimes the coach can help them. Sometimes they can come and visit you. They certainly are allowed to leave the pool deck and come over to the stands and have you help get their events and everything written on. We would like them to spend most of their time in the team area. And then usually a few events before the event that the swimmers are in, the coach will say, hey, everybody swimming the 10 and under 50 backstroke, event 37, come on over here, let's talk about it. And they'll meet with the swimmer. There'll be sometimes when the kids get older where they'll just be expected to come to the coach and say, can we talk about my 50 backstroke coming up? And they'll have to learn that timing. The coach will give them some tips before their event. They'll go behind the block and they'll line up just like on the Phoenix conference meets. The scoreboard will have the event number and the heat on it, and they'll have to follow along. There are timers there to help them out with that. They check in with the timer and the timer will help them. And then there's a series of whistles. I think you're familiar with that possibly. And then they'll get up on the block and they'll swim their race. After they're done with their race, we want the swimmers to come immediately right back to the coach. And the coach will talk to them about the event, give them some tips for the next time, maybe a best time button if they've achieved a best time. And then the time in between events, they can go and hang out with their friends in the team area and see their parents, go to the concessions or whatever they want. I mean, you'll learn the rhythm of the meet as you go through these, and the tools like the timeline and the heat sheet will help you a lot doing that. As far as the results go, they're usually posted in the team area. There is an app that I recommend every parent get. It's called Meet Mobile. It costs maybe about $5. It may have gone up $1. It may be $6. Um, almost every team publishes their meet to Meet Mobile. The heat sheets actually are in there, the heat in the lanes. And then when the swimmers swim their events, the results will be there also. The results will include their time and and their place and anything. I guess that's what it'll include. And then what are called splits, and you'll see those when they come up. And that's just if you're swimming a 100-yard race, it's how fast was the first 50, how fast was the second 50. Another thing to talk about regarding results is disqualifications. There are a lot of technical rules for each one of the strokes, and except for freestyle, there are very few. But for all the other ones, there are technical rules. Your swimmers are being taught the strokes so that they comply with those rules, but they'll still make mistakes out there, and they'll break those rules, and they'll get disqualified, and that means that race will not count. They won't get an award. They won't get a time. Um, so it can be a little bit upsetting at the beginning, both for a parent and a swimmer, but it's a really normal part of the educating process. The coaches will explain any disqualifications to them. They'll work on those things again in practice with them, so that they're able to get through the race the next time without a disqualification. Let's see. I'm gonna just check back here. Coming up on 8 o'clock. I already went to the new parent info and FAQ. So I'm betting now there might be some questions. So I'm going to stop the share and open it up to any questions about meets. And also, it looks like maybe some people have joined since I started. Make sure you put your swimmer's name in the chat so that I know you attended this meeting and I can give you credit for that. So are there any questions about the meets? Well, this must be the best meeting I've ever run.
Sorry, I'm Gabriel's mom on juniors. So you explained that all the meets, and I seen this have price, like a cost for like a fee.
Right.
Where do we pay that?
Okay, that'll be added to your invoice. So it'll be charged to you the first of the month. So we pay
Okay.
the host team with one check, and then we bill all of the swimmers for those events. And just so you know, I mean, things come up, you get sick, they can't make a meet, or something like that. Once the entry is submitted, usually the money is spent. We usually can't get that back from the meet host. So you'll be billed, for example, if you know Gabriel was sick the day of the meet and couldn't attend, we want you to contact us and let us know, and then they would still get charged for those events. If your swimmer is on a relay, those charges are split up evenly among the 4 swimmers on a relay. Just a couple other quick things here that I just thought of. You don't have to stay till the end of the meet. You just need to stay until the end of your swimmer's last event. Awards are generally given to the coaches at the end of the meet and distributed at practice during the next week. Few meets will let the kids pick up the awards throughout the meet, but generally the awards are given to us at the end. If you are going to leave the meet early or before the meet ends, please check on the relay situation and make sure your swimmer is not expected to swim on a relay. We don't want to have 3 swimmers waiting around for a relay and the 4th one on the way home already. So help us out with that. Hey, any other questions?
Thank you.
All right. Well, I'm sure some questions will come up. Um, again, don't hesitate to ask them. They're and I'm one of your best resources. I've probably got the most knowledge of anyone in the program, both about the policies and the way the program is run, and also about how meets are run and things like that. So don't be afraid to contact me.
Hey, Mark, I have a question. This is Levi Wetzel's mom.
Okay.
You said the information will be posted about when, like, the sign up for our commitment for the mandatory meets.
Uh-huh.
Where does that get communicated? Like, where would the first place we see that communicated
So
be?
yeah, you'll get an email from us, and
Okay.
it'll say basically um all families are, we're sign up for the Western Great Lakes Open, mandatory service meet. Will open on June 1st at 9 p.m. You'll get an email like that. You'll probably get a second email. It'll also say how many sessions are required. Usually it's 2 to 3. I'm pretty sure that the summer one, with the number of sessions we have, is going to be a 3 session requirement. Just a couple
Okay.
quick things about those sessions. You don't have to work 3 separate times. You can bring 3 people down and work one session, or you and your husband can work a session, and then one of you another session. Some families will work 2 sessions and then they'll say, well, I'll just buy out of the third one. There's a lot of flexibility there as far as
Okay.
how you configure your sessions for those. Mhm.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else?
Hi, I'm Casey. I just have a quick question also.
Mhm.
So is there an expectation that we or parents in general communicate with the coach or the like if we know they're not going to be able to make a practice, or is this like you only want to know if they're not going to be able to make like the meets?
All right. So I guess I would say we appreciate being told, but it's not, I don't have an expectation.
Okay.
Um, but like with an older swimmer, I may just say, where you been for the last 3 days,
Yeah.
and just kind of check their accountability for why they're not coming to practice, that type of thing. Uh, but if it's a regular thing, like if for example, your swimmers, well, they can never make the Wednesday practice, so they just won't be at Wednesday practice. That's good for us to know for planning purposes. I guess
Okay.
one other thing regarding practices, we're pretty flexible with kids making up a practice with an adjacent group. For example, juniors and age group gold are adjacent groups. So, and age group silver. So, like if you had a swimmer in age group gold and they can't make the age group gold practice, if you talk to the coaches of both groups, the gold and the silver coach, a lot of times they'll say, yeah, you can go to the silver practice. And it kind of depends on where they are in the group. If they're just getting into gold, then the silver practice is probably the appropriate makeup or substitute practice. If they've been in gold for a while, then maybe the junior practice is the more appropriate one. So if you're having trouble getting them to a practice on a regular basis, or even on just one occasion, and they'd like to make that up in another group, we're pretty flexible. Obviously, they won't get perfectly appropriate work, but it'll be close enough, and they can make that up.
Thank you.
Thanks for all the questions. They've opened me up to give you some other important information. Any others?
Yeah, sorry, I have another one. I don't know if I missed the info, but about the relays. Do you as coach sign them up for the relays, or how does that work?
Yeah, the coaches will make the relay entries. They're usually 4, so we just, how many multiples of 4 do we have available, and we'll enter that number of relays. And then generally the relays start with the fastest 4 swimmer on what's called the A relay, and then the next fastest 4 are on the B, and we go down to the C or whatever, however many swimmers we have. And there will be the odd, if we've got 17 kids, we're going to have an A, B, C, and D relay, and that 17th swimmer won't be on a relay that particular meet. So, but yeah, we'll do the signing up for that, and then we will announce that at the meet. Now, you may see them on a relay on the entry on the website, and that's very tentative. It's at the meet that we'll make the final decisions. We obviously can't determine the final relay positions until the attendance is taken. If there's any kids missing, we have to make relay changes and things like that. So, so you may see them on a relay. Pretty good chance they will be on a relay if they are on one there, but it's not for sure. So thanks for that question.
If we opt to do coach's choice, how many events do you typically will coach sign them up for, or is it best to just specify?
So if you could say coach's choice, 3 events, and if it's a 2-day meet, you might say 3 events only on Saturday, and that'd be fine. The coach will usually put them in the maximum number of events allowed, unless they aren't prepared for all those events. So
Okay.
yeah, and that's how they'll make that decision. But you can provide some guidance or some input on that as well.
Not that you just sign them up for one.
No, we want to make the trip worthwhile. We usually
Yeah.
whatever, yeah, as many as they can swim,
Okay.
as many as their skill levels allows. Yep.
Okay.
Great. All right, anything else? Oh, great. Well, I really appreciate all of you coming. And again, you think of a question right after we close this meeting, that's just fine. Send me an email, and I'll be happy to answer it. So again, thanks everyone for coming, and we will hopefully meet you in person on the deck at some time. Stopping the recording.